I picked action sports. I picked scooters when not everyone was riding them, and then
he wasn't supposed to make it. Just a kid on the Sunshine Coast with a beat-up scooter, a pair of rollerblades, and a dream too wild to fit inside the box. That kid, Ryan Williams, or R-Willy. Before he ever had a proper scooter, he showed up to the park in rollerblades, asking to borrow shoes just so he could ride. The scooter rat who broke stereotypes, rewrote what was possible, and went from the local park to X Games gold. From the kid everyone laughed at to the writer everyone watches, his story isn't what you expect. Think you know action sports? His story proves you don't. The Sunshine Coast isn't the kind of place you imagine superstars coming from. Hot, sweaty, full of cane toads and rugby fields. But for Ryan, the skate park was the real stadium. It was church, an escape, the one place he could show up with whatever gear he had and just leave it all on the ramps. Ryan stood out from day one, rolling into the park in rollerblades while most kids showed up with scooters or skateboards. Sometimes he didn't have shoes, so he'd hustle whatever gear he could just to get his turn. The regulars cracked jokes, but he shrugged it off and kept sessioning. That was the beginning of his don't quit attitude. School wasn't kind either. He caught grief for how he looked, for daring to be the scooter kid. BMX riders bullied him, skaters clowned. But Ryan didn't fold. Every "you'll never make it" bounced off. Each insult hardened him. Each doubt gave him fuel. The skate park became a refuge.
when I would just go down the skate park when I was 14, 15 years old, that was like when I'd be at the skate park for like 8 hours, and just like sometimes I'd try a trick for 8 hours, like a single trick for that long. Like, and it was almost like I was crazy because I'm like chasing something that's just beating me up, but I just wanted to land it so bad because once you land it, it's all worth it.
When school sucked, he'd roll in, lock on a trick, and nothing else mattered. That obsession shaped him. While most kids quit after a few tries, Ryan pushed until the trick was his. A home wasn't easy either. His mom was a single parent.
So my mum raced BMX when she was young, and then she got me into racing BMX when I was, I think I was about, maybe 10, 11, and 12.
No internet for years. Ryan went to mates' places just to upload clips, editing on Windows Movie Maker, dreaming someone would notice. Then came the spark. Ultimate X. Pastrana, freestyle moto, BMX, skating, chaos, and freedom. Ryan saw it and thought, that's it. That's life. That film planted the seed. This wasn't just pastime, it could be everything. By the time he got his first real scooter in BMX, Ryan had the mindset. Not trying to be cool, not to prove anyone wrong, just to land tricks no one thought of. Pulling fakey flips, sketchy lines, creating new possibilities. The scooter scene was underground, raw. But Ryan didn't care about status. Where others saw kids' stuff, he saw tricks, progression, the future. He wasn't a golden boy, he built it trick by trick, session by session, crash by crash. The skate park gave him scars, broken bones, separated shoulders, but he never sat feeling sorry, he just rode. He didn't wait for the scene to change, he made his own luck. Just riding through the pain until scooter history finally had his name on it. Scootering in the late 2000s and early 2010s wasn't glamorous, still a punchline. Razor fold-ups, bent bars, snapped decks, chunked wheels. Most kids cycled through scooters like sneakers. Ryan didn't care. He rode whatever he could get. The more he rode, the more he figured out tricks nobody else had imagined. That's how he landed his first real claim. World firsts. No official records, no federation. Just the tight online scooter scene. When Ryan posted a trick nobody had seen, it was instantly recognized as new. Whispering about this kid from Sunshine Coast began. Mad Gear noticed. They were forming their first pro team to legitimize scootering. At 15 years old, Ryan was Mad Gear's first pro signing, a skinny kid suddenly wearing the jersey of the brand everyone wanted. Mad Gear flew him to America. First trip overseas. New parks, new riders. The US scene saw what the Aussies were cooking. Ryan's style stood out. While others stacked bar spins and tail whips, he chased tricks that twisted reality, lines no one else dared to try. Most saw scooters as a joke, but he kept pushing the boundaries with every session. Ryan fought not with words, but tricks. He asked what trick would make even a non-rider lose their mind. That's how he cooked up the bike flip. On a scooter, front flips existed. Why not on BMX? Everyone said impossible. Ryan tried over and over. When it worked, it didn't just change scooter riding, it cracked BMX too. At this stage, BMX was a side hustle. Scooter was blowing up. His edits circulated, stacking views. By 14, he wasn't just a Mad Gear Grom. He was the face of scootering. Videos, world firsts, comp results, all stacked. What stood out was attitude. Ryan wasn't brooding or arrogant, always smiling, hyping riders, stoked on progression. In a sport still proving itself, Ryan became the poster boy everyone couldn't ignore. By the time Nitro Circus called, the scooter kid from the Sunshine Coast was on a global stage just getting started.
Like, if you can land a world's first in front of a crowd, they become a part of that. So at Nitro Circus, it's like you can become a part of history by witnessing and being a part of something that's never happened before.
Yeah. Ryan had already put scootering on the map, but BMX was a whole new level. This was where he moved the needle, going from scooter pioneer to throwing down tricks on BMX that nobody saw coming. It started small. Ryan always had a BMX around, not chasing medals, but because mates at the skate park rode him. Loyalty didn't matter. It was about fun and pushing progression with whoever was there. The Nitro Circus changed everything. He'd already joined as a scooter rider, groundbreaking in itself. Scooters weren't on the radar. Ryan forced his way in with tricks so wild the audience just couldn't deny them. During a show, surrounded by BMX heavyweights, he kept hearing, "Those tricks only work on scooters." That dismissal became the challenge. One night at Nitro Circus 2015, Ryan borrowed a BMX mid-show. No warm-up, just guts. He transferred scooter-style tricks onto the bike. Front flip, mid-air bike flip, landed. Crowd lost it. Riders lost it. The wall between scooters and BMX crumbled. These weren't just transplanted tricks. They were fresh ideas no BMX rider had imagined. Decades of chasing bigger spins and flips were disrupted by Ryan's sideways approach. Curiosity, not glory, drove him, and the curiosity sparked breakthroughs. Soon, experiments became world firsts, tricks veterans couldn't comprehend. The narrative shifted. Scooter kids had been mocked for years. Now, Ryan was out-progressing the BMX elite. Respect came slow, but inevitable. Other scooter kids followed his path. Brandon Lupos, now X Games champ, started on a scooter too. Ryan wasn't abandoning scootering. He blurred the lines, thriving in both worlds. The BMX crossover wasn't an exit from scooters, it was an expansion. Fresh ideas, gutsy attempts, and persistence became his signature. The scooter kid had become a universal rider, a bridge between scenes, proof that creativity beats stereotypes. Joining Nitro Circus wasn't just a break for Ryan, it was the rocket fuel. Nitro wasn't some local demo crew, it was the global circus of action sports, built by Travis Pastrana himself. Moto guys, BMX legends, skaters, base jumpers, even stunt clowns. If you had the guts, Nitro was the stage. And for the first time ever, a scooter kid was invited to play. For Ryan, it wasn't about the paycheck, it was about belonging. Nitro was filled with the riders he'd grown up idolizing, Pastrana especially, not just for his tricks, but for the way he pulled everyone around him higher. Ryan soaked that up. But Nitro wasn't an easy ride. First show jitters, packed stadiums, ramps taller than anything he'd ever seen. No second chances. You wanted a spot in the lineup, you had to deliver. And Ryan didn't just deliver, he shocked everyone. On his very first Nitro show, he threw down a world first, a double front flip on a scooter. Landed clean, under the lights, stadium erupting.
Off. And I actually landed like a world's first trick, and then ever since then they kind of were like, you're on tour. So I feel like that's definitely like probably one of the defining moments in my career, and probably one of my favorite shows.
The kid from Sunshine Coast had just gone from local park rat to global headline in a single trick. That's the thing with Ryan. He never wasted a chance. Every time he got a shot, he went for something wild. Ryan's known for throwing down world first tricks. When he dropped in, you knew something crazy was coming. And Nitro gave him the playground to push it further. Mega ramps, resi landings, foam pits, tools he'd never had growing up. Back on the Sunshine Coast, he'd been limited by what the park could handle. Now, he had the same setup the moto guys used to train double flips. Ryan saw it as a blank canvas, and he painted with tricks no one had seen before. He landed tricks no one could even imagine, combos so wild they seemed ripped from a video game. But Ryan made them a reality. And it wasn't just Nitro. Soon the X Games door opened too. Best Trick Contest became Ryan's arena. While the contest guys like Logan Martin and Brandon Lupos were grinding out flawless 1-minute runs, Ryan honed in on the single banger, the one shot, the knockout punch. And that's where his persistence became a weapon. He didn't need a full run of 30 tricks. He just needed one trick landed once. That's his formula. And it worked. X Games Gold, Best Trick Medals, the scooter kid turned BMX destroyer, standing on podiums that were once completely off limits to his kind.
If you win a gold medal at X Games, you get a bonus from a bunch of your sponsors, hopefully.
That's handy.
The one time I won 3 medals. I won 2 golds and 1 silver at 1X.
But the medals weren't even the best part. It was the respect. Pastrana, BMX veterans, moto icons, guys who had once joked about scooters, now lined up to shake his hand. Not because of hype, not because of marketing, but because progression speaks louder than stereotypes. And the best part? Ryan never changed. Fame didn't twist him, he didn't become some cocky superstar. He stayed the same kid from the Sunshine Coast skate park, still stoked to ride with anyone, still pushing until the trick gave in. That energy fed Nitro too. Because for all the chaos, Nitro Circus was a family, and Ryan fit right in. His persistence, his positivity, his creativity. It wasn't just good for the show, it inspired everyone around him to go bigger. The BMX scene might not have fully embraced scooters, but they couldn't deny Ryan. And by this point, it wasn't just about scooters or BMX. Ryan had become something else, a universal rider. A walking reminder that progression doesn't care what you ride, only that you're willing to risk it all to land it. And once you've flipped a stadium upside down on both a scooter and a BMX, there's no going back. Ryan was officially global, a star. The name R-Willy was etched into action sports history. Riding comes first, always. For Ryan, it's never been about the spotlight. But in today's world, tricks don't mean much if no one sees them. Nitro gave him the global stage, X Games gave him medals, but YouTube, that gave him ownership, his own voice, his own community. It didn't start clean. Back home on the Sunshine Coast, he didn't even have internet. He'd film clips, crash at a mate's place, then sit for hours waiting on the upload bar to crawl across the screen. Early edits were rough, chopped on basic software, music ripped off LimeWire, shaky angles. But they had something better than polish, authenticity, raw chaos, a kid trying the impossible until it clicked. And those videos stuck. Because you can't fake obsession. The audience saw the sweat, the crashes, the grind of attempt after attempt. Hundreds of fails, one glorious land. That's R-Willy in a nutshell. As Nitro blew him up, Ryan realized YouTube wasn't just a side hustle, it was the new arena. Not bound by judges, not tied to comp schedules, not dependent on sponsors, just pure, direct connection. Drop a video today, and tomorrow kids across the world are replaying it before school, hyping themselves up at their own local parks. But Ryan wasn't a natural media guy. He had the writing down, but filming angles, thumbnails, titles, that wasn't his world. Watching guys like Tanner Fox, who'd mastered the art of YouTube storytelling, slow motion replays, clean cuts, narrative around the tricks, inspired Ryan and showed him what great media looked like. The Funk Bros, a crew blowing up on scooters and YouTube at the same time, helped Ryan next by showing him the rhythm of uploads, how to keep an audience hooked, and the art of balancing serious tricks with fun challenges and behind-the-scenes chaos.
I would do the shows, and then people would come to me, they're like, oh, do you know Tanner Fox? Do you know Caper and Funk? And I'm like, yeah, they're like my mates that I ride scooters with. They're like pros, right? And they're like, oh, where are they? And I'm like, well, we're at Nitro Circus. Like, they're not riding Nitro Circus. I'm riding Nitro Circus. But they love these people, like, so much. And then I was thinking, well, what do these guys do? Like, they do YouTube.
Yeah.
And people just love it. Like,
before long, Ryan's channel became a destination. Not just highlights, but full sessions, insane attempts, fails, and the energy of riding with his mates. The Compound, which we'll get to in the next chapter, gave him the perfect set to showcase it all. Ryan never forced the influencer vibe. No fake pranks, no clickbait drama, just him riding, pushing, laughing, and inviting viewers along for the ride. That's why it worked. Blue-collar dads, Groms, weekend warriors, they all connected because it felt real. The numbers exploded. Millions of subscribers, views piling into the hundreds of millions, but even bigger than the stats was the reach. YouTube made R-Willy bigger than Nitro ever could. Stadium shows hit thousands of people at a time. YouTube hit millions, day after day, all over the globe. And it became a feedback loop. The channel gave him freedom to try whatever he wanted. No waiting for a sponsor's green light, no asking a promoter for ramp time. Just film, ride, and post. If the trick landed, it was history. If it didn't, the fail reel was just as entertaining. Fans got addicted to the persistence. Seeing a trick fail 599 times and finally stick on attempt 600, that's better than a clean contest run. Because it shows the fight, it shows the cost, it shows the reality of progression. By now, Ryan wasn't just a scooter or BMX rider. He was a content machine, a brand, a media outlet wrapped around one rider's insane drive. Kids bought scooters to copy him, BMXers studied his tricks to see what could cross over, even moto guys started following his uploads just to see what the crazy Aussie was cooking up next. And for Ryan, it was never about the money. Sure, the ad revenue, sponsorship deals, and merch sales started stacking up, but the heart of it stayed the same. Riding with mates, laughing, trying something stupid until it worked. YouTube just made sure the whole world got to see it. The rider who once borrowed a friend's shoes to ride now had thousands of kids wearing his gear, watching his videos, and cheering his name. A rare arc in any sport. And he did it without selling out, without bending to trends, without pretending to be something he wasn't. That authenticity is why the channel grew and why it still feels real years later. At some point, the local park wasn't enough. Ramps got too small, cops showed up, and his ideas were way too big for anyone else's spots. So Ryan did what any true park rat would. He built his own compound, R-Willy Land. R-Willy Land started as a DIY dream. Ramps cobbled together, foam pits patched from whatever was on hand, setups only Ryan and his crew would call safe. But over the years, Ryan has poured tons of money and endless hours into turning it into a legit training ground. Massive roll-ins, giant resi landings, and ramps built for pushing progression and chasing world firsts now define the place.
I ended up making a decent living, but then what I did was, as soon as I had enough, I kind of just reinvested in myself. And then that kind of gave me the ability to progress my riding more, and then that got me into like X Games, and then I was winning X Games gold medals, and it was only because I kind of had the facility that I had purchased for myself.
It's bigger, better, and built to handle the toughest tricks while still keeping that raw, lived-in vibe that only comes from years of grinding it out. And it's not just for him. Mates, local kids, Nitro riders, anyone hungry to ride is welcome. Friday sessions became legendary, with riders feeding off of each other, pushing limits, and sparking creativity. R-Willy Land became a true progression factory. Foam pits for testing sketchy ideas, roll-ins that let riders launch tricks impossible anywhere else, and resi landings for dialing the hardest moves. Some of Ryan's gnarliest tricks were born right here, after endless fails stacked up and finally gave way to success. The effort and money Ryan invested shows. It's a raw, alive place that represents the heart of his rise. Unlike many pros treating training like a job, Ryan keeps it fun. No stopwatches, no drills, no shouting coaches, just riders pushing each other until sunset. And he never closed it off. He wants kids to ride, to feel that freedom, chase progression, and carry the culture forward. Watch a Ryan Williams highlight reel, and it's easy to focus on tricks, spins, flips, world firsts. But to understand R-Willy, look under the hood. What makes someone slam hundreds of times for one idea? What keeps him pushing when most would quit? It comes down to mindset. Ryan believes every trick is possible. It just hasn't been landed yet. That's why he'll spend hours attempting to land one trick. To him, it's the only way. If it exists in his head, it will exist in reality. Crashing isn't failure, it's data. Every slam provides a clue for the next attempt. Skatepark upbringing built resilience. No safety nets, concrete falls, and the never quit switch became hardwired. He's straight about fear. Standing on a mega ramp is scary, no way around it, but you lean in and send it. Ryan doesn't just huck tricks blind, he breaks them apart, works each piece, and grinds it bit by bit until it clicks. The secret? Fun. Even in brutal sessions, he smiles, laughs, and hypes others. If it were just medals or views, he'd have quit years ago. Pure love of writing, trying, failing, and finally sticking it fuels everything. That energy is contagious. At R-Willy Land, on tour, or online, others feed off it. Fans see the grind, the persistence, and connect with it. Not everyone will land a front flip bike flip, but everyone knows the feeling of trying again after repeated failure. Ryan embodies that fight and makes persistence look cool. When asked why he does it, he says simply, because it's fun, because I want to. Passion without overthinking, dedication without ego. Ryan isn't just a pro rider, he's a philosophy. Progression comes from persistence, crashing isn't failure, and fear is part of the deal. Ryan's career isn't just about tricks. The scooter front flip bike flip in 2014, the BMX nothing front bike flip to front flip flare combo at X Games 2018, the BMX 720 front flip in 2021. The real legacy is what those tricks represented. Scooters weren't supposed to belong in big leagues, kids' toys, training wheels. Ryan obliterated that narrative. Not online, not by demanding respect, but by progressing the sport. Every crazy landing, every viral clip puts scooters on the map. BMXers, skaters, moto riders couldn't ignore it. The influence spread. Kids everywhere chased pro dreams because Ryan showed it was possible. And it goes beyond scooters. In BMX, he shook things up with new tricks. At Nitro, he carried Pastrana's fire. On YouTube, he proved being real beats being polished. The compound's ramps might break down, but those Friday sessions, riding together, pushing limits, keeping it fun, that vibe keeps the sport moving. What's next? No, Ryan doesn't focus on 5-year plans. He chases tricks. As long as ideas spin in his head, he'll throw himself at them until they stick. Will scooters make the Olympics? Maybe. Will BMX evolve with scooter-inspired tricks? Definitely. Will YouTube continue giving him a platform? No doubt. Ryan doesn't need external validation. He's already proven himself. The scooter kid who borrowed shoes to ride is now the icon every kid points to. I ride scooters, and so does R-Willy. The question isn't what he's done, it's what comes next. Will scooters ever be fully respected alongside BMX and skate, or will they always carry the outsider label? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want more stories of riders who refuse to play by the rules, check out our deep dive on Travis Pastrana, the man who helped open the doors for Ryan in the first place. Thanks for watching, and stay wicked.